Hey guys, this is John. I'm playing Josh Daruka in the 5 minute pool on ICC. Alright, let's play a French defense. I know this is coming out of left field, but I'm in the mood for something different today, so let's give it a whirl and see how it goes. Okay, so we're playing the advanced variation. Usually black brings the queen out to b6 and tries to pressurize d4. Not sure who this player is. International Master Joshua Ruiz. Pretty high 5 minute rating. Basically 2,500. Okay, so let's bring this out. A3. I'm going to reply with A5 and just try to stop white from playing B4. There's quite a bit of theory surrounding this move that I do not know. And given that this is my first time in the line, I'm not expecting to get into a theoretical battle, or at least I hope I don't get into a theoretical battle. So now I'm going to try to pressure this pawn even further. I think I'm going to develop knight e7. Yeah, let's bring the knight out here. The only downside of this trade is that white can use this square, as they just did. But if I go here, then knight a4, queen a7 should be all right. And keep the pressure on this pawn from the a7 square. I think the French fits my style. I usually do okay in closed or semi-closed positions. It's just I have never played this opening with any regularity or with any frequency, really, in my chess career. Okay, so here, knight a7 maybe to challenge this knight on b5. I don't think I want this knight sticking around because white might play g4. And if knight back to e7, knight d6 is devastating. So I believe I got to play to get rid of this piece. So let's do that now. We're going to challenge that baby. And if there's a trade, I'll take with the queen. So my rook can come to c8. It's possible they'll kick me with g4 now, but maybe I can bring the knight over to c6. So knight e7 to c6 and try to uncoil my position. The fact that I'm a little down in development does not greatly concern me because I don't see how white's going to crush me in the center or anything yet. So let's just do this and develop, get our king to safety, and go from there. I think that's about the most responsible thing we can do now. Okay, white's gradually coming forward on the king side. I might want to play a4 and knight a5, I'm thinking. First, I might want to bring my... Now, let's do this right away. I know they're going to make strides on this wing and try to attack me, but I'm hoping I can batten down the hatches and survive this onslaught. Okay, so if I play knight a5, threatening knight b3, they can play the rook into c7. That's not so appetizing, so maybe this first. Followed by knight a5 on the next move. Okay, so they're getting in position. Let's do this. I got to fight back on the queen side. All my pieces are clustered on this wing. I can't afford to sit back and just wait in the position. No way. Okay, so maybe bishop b5. Idea, prepare knight to b3. Because I see if knight b3 now, their idea is queen d3, threatening this pawn. Now, granted, I could play g6 then, but I think it's better to threaten this. They're going to go rook c8, however. Maybe I can bring my rook into c4 then? Okay, yeah, let's activate. Rook c1 as planned. It'd be nice to play queen c8 here, but I think I gotta do something else because my queen is tied down to the defense of the knight. So let's do this. Threatening knight b3. I hope he overlooks it. And he does overlook it. So knight b3, rook takes c4 could be played. I'm going to play this first and calculate later. Yeah, so if knight takes d2, rook f8, rook c8 check rather, bishop f8, and then he can take here at the end of this line. Then I can go and harass his rook. My bishop is annoyingly pinned, however. So knight takes d2, rook check, bishop f8, bishop takes d2, threatening bishop b4. It's really irritating. Yeah, I see your point, sir. Okay, I'm going to take. I just have a bad feeling about that line. And seeing as how time pressure might be a factor soon, I think I got to play it safe. Now, I'm worried about my dark squares being weak, but I think I can make some inroads on the queen side, like maybe queen a5 at some stage. Let's just pre-move this capture. No, sir. Okay. can play knight a1. That's kind of a funny move. But let's bring the queen up first. Always threaten some pesky queen invasion on e1. Let's go b5. It's an outposted bishop if I've ever seen one. Okay, take that. And now here, probably. Yeah, let's do it. Thing is, my king is really weak, isn't it? Okay, I can do this. I'm going to go after this pawn. So if they take b4, I can take d4. That would be excellent if I could do that. Watch that time, John. 1 minute 25. The issue I see here is that there's always going to be mating nets around my king. That's the one thing that is putting me off about this position. Like, wow, can he actually do that? Take queen c5 or queen b6? Am I just going to get checkmated? Even though I can take some stuff with check. No, I have checks available myself. I think I can do this. So if he goes queen c5, I can play queen c1, actually. It's weird. This is a weird position. It's a lot to calculate without a lot of time remaining. Next, I can maybe play d4 if I don't lose. You can play queen f3 then, however. This is dangerous for both sides. Maybe I go queen e2 next, if I can. Bishop d3. Okay, gotta come up with something fast here. d4. What to do? Okay, I'm gonna take, first of all. I see I can win a bunch of pawns. If queen takes e5 is working. I also have check, though. Check. King moves to h2, maybe? I'm not sure. I can win a bunch of stuff with check. Okay, I'm going to give this check, first of all. If king g2, I take g5 with check, which is important. Now here, check. If king up, I can go queen here and trade the queens with check. And I think that wins. Yeah. Because after the trade, my b-pawn is just a little faster. Very interesting. Yeah, very interesting stuff. We're not going to stalemate him here, of course. I'm just taking extra care not to. Let's bring our king up. May as well cut him off. And deliver the checkmate. Okay. Sharp endgame. Razor sharp endgame right there. I think he could have taken a little more time and played this better. For instance, after queen takes b2, there's a lot to consider. Because if queen c5 or b6, he's threatening back rank checkmates. And I think I was going to have to bail out with a draw. Although I'm not sure it's a draw. Because, okay, so let's calculate here. In the event of, let's say queen b6. Then I can, if I take b1 with check, I think I actually lose after king h2. Because I have no good follow-up checks. And he's just coming in with queen d8. I mean, I could play f6 or something, but that's going to lose. So if queen b6, I'd have to play queen c1 check. And then the problem for white is wherever their king goes to either g2 or h2, I have follow-up checks. On f4, or in the case of king g2, queen takes g5. So let's say king h2, queen f4 check, king g1. I guess I'm taking that pawn with check. So maybe he was worried that his g pawn would fall with check. And if it does, then the h pawn could fall, and my king will always have an escape square on g7. So a lot to calculate. I was nervous because this pawn on h6, whenever he played that move, it has a cramping effect around my king. So right here, after g6, when he did that, I knew my king was going to be permanently in mating nets, and I had to keep the position closed. So let's go back and take a look. I think I'm going to gloss over some of the opening, even though this was a new opening, because I know this endgame is going to take a little while to get through. So I will just say that a3 in the opening, Common move, theoretically approved move. White is trying to advance b4. And I know in looking at this line with some students in the past, I've found that it's nice to play a5 and try to stop them from doing that. So that's why I played it here. So a5. Then this occurred, knight ge7, and then knight c3. So this is the only downside of that trade. But had I played knight ge7 first, I wonder if they could do this, because this is often a problem in this line, and the queen gets stuck without any good flight squares. So I feel like I need to resolve the tension on d4. Maybe I can play knight h6 so that the bishop is kept on this one, but I'm never sure of the consequences of allowing bishop takes h6. And there's some cases even that black can think about grabbing on b2, but I didn't want to get into anything sharp in one of my first games, first Blitz outing with the French defense. Let me just put the engine on right here. The engine says knight h6 is fine. I'm certain this is all theory. So I brought the knight to f5. They played knight b5, and I think I got to get rid of this intruding knight. So I played knight a7, just swapping. And I actually was relatively okay with the position that resulted. Yes, white has more space, especially on the king side where they're pushing. But I have play of my own on the queen side, and I managed to kind of wriggle in here with these type of moves. Okay, so here I was thinking about knight a5, but I rejected it because of this move. The engine says don't be afraid and just play rook a d8, defend the bishop, cede the c-file to white, but maybe their rook is a target here on c7. Like actually, if my knight comes back to c6, the trap would be complete and the rook would be stuck there on c7. So I can see why the computer wants me to do that right away. But rook fc8 looks logical. I mean, it looks crazy to abandon the defenses of your king. Like I don't have any pieces on the f-file through the h-file. It's just my king and 3 pawns. But I'm going to keep my pawns back so that my king doesn't get exposed. And I hope to create play on the queen side to kind of throw white off and distract them. That's my game plan here. Bishop d3. I could understand why white wanted to do this, creating this battery, but it might be a little slow. Maybe what the engine is saying, just h5 and try to menace a pawn breakthrough, is even quicker here. Black can play queen a5, look for a queen trade. A queen trade would be great for black because that would minimize the risk to the black king. It's not a big advantage for white, even in the event of h5. So this occurred, and now bishop back to b1, which is apparently bad because I can play knight c4. And then what if queen here? Just g6, and my knight is well placed attacking the b2 pawn. Gives a big advantage to black. Maybe I'm going to play bishop b5 next. What if bishop c1, let's say? Queen b6 or bishop b5. Yeah, and I'm faster on the queen side than white is on the king side. So maybe I could have done that immediately. But I played the tempo move. Now rook c1. Now, I didn't want to relinquish control of the file. That's why I didn't take on c1. And I really would have liked to do this, but it loses the knight on a5 after this is occurring. So I tried to play kind of a half measure, rook c4, go up the file, but say if you want to trade rooks, you have to allow me to get my bishop into a slightly better position. So they pushed, and I got the knight in. It's always weird when you feel like your opponent might have missed the move that you were planning, and you feel like you should be able to punish them, but maybe he actually saw knight b3 and was just intending this queen sacrifice all along. So I got cold feet about this line because it seemed to me that even though I have a queen against my opponent's rook and minor piece, it looks like bishop b4 is going to be a hard threat to parry, attacking that pinned bishop. Yeah, bishop d7. Oh, wow. Take here is strong. I didn't even see that possibility. I just thought white would move the rook somewhere like rook d8. But this is good. And white is winning here, according to the computer. I could see where I'm having problems with my king. I mean, g6 followed by knight g5 could be a thing. Rook takes f7. My queen is kind of sitting here uselessly on a7. I'm glad I didn't go for that line. That would have been greedy. I only win 1 point of material in that transaction anyways, so I just recaptured, and then g6 was played. Yeah, the computer has a lot of faith in my position. It's giving an edge to black here, meaning it doesn't rate white's potential chances against my king as highly as the queenside play. Here I played b5. I do have the position nicely closed now. That's one thing. If you played a French defense, you got to be comfortable in playing closed and semi-closed positions. So here I had queen e1 check. Intermezzo I didn't look at. I just automatically recaptured, but I could have given this check and only then taken. Right, that's much better. Now my queen is active. And if queen c1, queen e2, and I can keep it active. Notice how my bishop does a great job of being a buffer on c4. It's not just a tall pawn on that square, as sometimes bishops are referred to. Kind of the derogatory term for a bad bishop, a tall pawn. But it's making a battery with my queen. It's holding some valuable squares, preventing an infiltration on the c-file. How would I win here, though? King g3, queen h5, maneuver, try to attack this, f4, bishop e2, and we're squirming in. If there's a check, we can block here, and white's king is now the more open one, it seems. I like the way the board looks with the pawns all locked up and the bishops and the queens, like diagonal heavy pieces remaining. It's kind of cool. White has almost everything on a dark square except for their queen and light square bishop. Same story for me on the light squares. It's nice. So I took with the a pawn, and now queen here covers the e1 square. So I didn't want to slow down. That's why I played b4, just trying to open the position slightly. And maybe they should take. I was wondering about this line. It looks very passive for white, but I don't have a particular follow-up threat in mind. Maybe I could play queen a1, but even then I don't see what I'm doing. This might ultimately be drawish if neither side can make progress here. There's still a lot of play left, though. So instead, bishop d2, and now I unpinned and attacked this, and also I'm threatening to take on a3. And this is where the game really got exciting. So take, and now queen e3. Okay, so queen e3 is understandable because white just doesn't want to lose this pawn. The engine says play b5, and that's better. If take, bishop d3, bishop d3, and try to hammer this pinned bishop. Queen d4, b6. I suppose if take, queen c3, and I gotta watch g7. So if the diagonal gets cleared there, yeah, the queen could come up and attack the g7 square. But white played queen e3, and I grabbed on b2. So, here's the principal thing I was looking at. It's funny that I can't take this bishop, because after king h2, I have no good follow-up checks. And I'm just at the mercy of white's queen. If I play even this, they could even play a slow move here like that and still be winning. My king is just stuck. If I try to run, I'm going to be promptly pushed back. But it appears that in the event of one of these moves, let's say queen b6. I don't know if there's much of a difference. I can give this check. Yeah, and if king here, then I'm giving this check. And the point is that I can win this pawn, I'm pretty sure. Like, eventually I'll get around to winning this pawn. You can't go to f1 because of my bishop. And if the king goes to the h-file, I take this with check. So king f3, queen takes h6. And if eventually queen d8, I can actually block here. That's probably important, because if I had to play king here, then white would have a perpetual check with this. But the fact that I can block on f8, and after the trade I have extra pawns, 3 extra pawns, that wins for black. But with 1 minute on my clock, that was not at all clear at the time. It was quite complicated. So bishop d3, on the other hand, might just lose. So white's best bet is the prophylactic king h2. This is what I was sort of discussing. I felt like maybe right around here white should have, and it's hard in retrospect because I know he's playing off my time pressure, but I feel like there was a moment where he had to sit down and think and really find the best continuation. King h2 is not an easy move to figure out. The point of that is, again, if I take, then they're coming in with the queen, and it's the same story, just changing up the move order. And this way they rule out queen c1. Their queen remains on e3, guarding that square. So that's a subtle move that could take some time to figure out. How much time did white spend here? Yeah, he spent like 30 seconds, so not a super fast move. But now I take on d3, and again, if the queen comes in, I think this time, what was I planning here? I was planning some check. Is it from this square? I think this square check. And then if king here, I can check on f1 or even e4. And if king here, I can take here check. And I thought that I would win. Again, if I can win this pawn with check, it's going to be all over. So white recaptured on d3. I gave the check here. Yeah, check. And now again, he can't hold these pawns. King h3 allows the queens to be traded, but in the event of, say, king g2 or king g1, we're taking here. If king here, I think I can trade on e4. Not sure I saw that in the game, but this would work out the same way. His b pawn's too slow compared to my b pawn. Yeah, so queen f5, and we get there before he does and win the game. Fascinating game. I really enjoyed this one. And I'm glad I didn't get crushed out of the opening in the French. Just kept it closed, and maybe white had a small pull after the opening, but nothing substantial. Cool game with weak king, but counterplay elsewhere. And thank you guys for watching, and I'll be back again soon with another video. Talk to you later. Bye.